Three of the WNBA's brightest stars, Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexie Hull, aren't just recovering from devastating injuries. They're leading a rebellion. Together, they've dropped a scorched-earth statement accusing the league of failing its players, prioritizing profit over protection, and turning a blind eye to crisis after crisis. This isn't an injury report. It's an uprising, and it might just tear the WNBA apart from the inside.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Let's make something clear. These aren't fringe players looking for attention. These are names the league has plastered on billboards, sold jerseys for, and used to hype up every broadcast. Caitlin Clark is the rookie phenomenon who single-handedly boosted ratings and ticket sales. Sophie Cunningham is the fiery veteran, loved by fans for her grit and toughness. Lexie Hull, the Stanford standout, is a rising star with a no-nonsense game that screams longevity. These women are the WNBA's future, or at least they were supposed to be. So when all three go down with gruesome injuries that stop games cold, silence arenas, and make even seasoned commentators stumble, you'd expect the league to slam on the brakes. You'd expect emergency meetings, new safety protocols, maybe even public apologies. Instead, nothing. Not even a whisper. No league-wide plan, no promises to change, no acknowledgement that the health of its players was hanging by a thread. Just the same recycled PR lines about focusing on recovery while pushing the next highlight package. And here's where things turned. Because Caitlin, Sophie, and Lexie decided silence was no longer an option. They stood up, together, and released a joint statement that cut sharper than any headline. They called out the league's disregard for player safety, its outdated medical standards, and its obsession with fast comebacks instead of real healing. In other words, they said out loud what everyone in the sport has been whispering for years. Think about the weight of that. Three high-profile athletes publicly accusing their own league of negligence. That's not just bold, it's unprecedented. It's one thing for fans to complain or for insiders to grumble off the record. It's another thing entirely when the stars of your league unite and blast you in front of the world. And they weren't vague about it. Their statement didn't read like a gentle nudge to do better. It was fire. They accused leadership of valuing marketing campaigns more than medical care. They highlighted how protocols that are standard in the NBA, biomechanical analysis, load management, advanced recovery monitoring, are considered luxuries in the WNBA. They pointed out how the league will spend millions hyping up a Caitlin Clark, but won't invest the same energy into making sure she doesn't collapse under the weight of overuse. That's not just a safety issue. That's exploitation. Pure and simple. Caitlin Clark's rookie year was supposed to be celebrated as a cultural moment. Instead, fans were left holding their breath every time she hit the floor, wondering if the next foul would be the one that ended her season. Sophie Cunningham's knee injury wasn't just devastating to her career. It was a gut punch to the fans who loved her edge and energy. Lexie Hull's swollen shut wasn't just a bad break. It was a symbol of how brutally physical the game has become without the right protections in place. And through all of it, the league stayed quiet. Too quiet. As if silence would erase the reality playing out on the court. Well, the silence is broken now. And the sound? It's deafening. Because this joint statement wasn't just about injuries. It was about respect. It was about dignity. It was about whether the WNBA values its athletes as human beings or as disposable marketing tools. And that's why this story matters. It's bigger than Caitlin Clark, bigger than Sophie Cunningham, bigger than Lexie Hull. It's about the culture of the league itself, and whether it can survive when its brightest stars are openly accusing it of betrayal. The fallout? It's already happening. Fans are rallying behind the players, demanding accountability. Analysts are questioning the league's leadership, asking why it takes a public revolt for safety to even be discussed. And inside WNBA offices, you can bet the panic is real. Because when your top talent stops trusting you, the foundation of your entire brand begins to crumble. So let's not sugarcoat it. This is a turning point. Either the WNBA steps up, admits its failures, and builds a future where players' safety is sacred, or it risks losing the very stars who make the league matter. And from the way Caitlin, Sophie, and Lexie are speaking, they're not backing down. This isn't a request. This is a demand. And it just might change the WNBA forever. Enter Tim Grover. Yes, the Tim Grover, the man behind Michael Jordan and Dwayne Wade's legendary fitness. He chimed in to say that WNBA's protocols are not just outdated. They're dangerous. Like career-ending dangerous. These players aren't being given the tools to succeed. They're being pushed to the brink for ratings and tossed aside when they break. And look, no one's saying injuries can be 100% prevented. This is elite-level sports. People are going to get hurt. But there's a massive difference between a league that supports its athletes through that and one that uses them as marketing pawns until their knees give out. That's what Caitlin, Sophie, and Lexie are calling out. They're not just advocating for themselves. They're dragging the curtain back on the entire system and asking, what kind of league do we want this to be? Because right now, the answer isn't pretty. Social media, of course, went off. Hashtags like #JusticeForWNBA and #ProtectOurPlayers were trending globally. Fans are angry. Sponsors are uncomfortable. And the league's silence? It's growing louder by the second. People are starting to notice that the WNBA only seems to care when it's good for PR. But when the cameras stop rolling and the injuries set in, players are left to fend for themselves. And trust? Once it's gone, it's gone. There's this haunting moment in their joint statement where they talk about feeling disposable. Not just replaceable, disposable. As in, once you're hurt, you're no longer profitable, so you're no longer useful. Let that sink in. This is professional women's basketball in 2025, and players still feel like pawns on a corporate chessboard. The betrayal is palpable. So now, here we are. The WNBA is being publicly dragged by its own stars. It's a reckoning, a crisis of credibility, but also maybe a revolution. Because for the first time in a long time, players aren't just asking for change. They're demanding it. Holistic injury prevention, personalized treatment plans, biomechanical analysis, expert medical staff, and most importantly, a seat at the damn table. This isn't a small thing. This is a cultural shift. We're witnessing athlete activism evolve in real time, led by women who know their worth and aren't afraid to burn it all down if it means building something better. And let's be real, this isn't just a WNBA problem. This is a women's sports problem. It's about how leagues, media, and even fans often cheer for women athletes until they're no longer convenient to support, until their bodies break down under the pressure of being everything to everyone, until they speak up, and suddenly they're labeled difficult or dramatic. Newsflash, asking not to be permanently injured for entertainment isn't dramatic. It's basic human decency. So what now? The league is a crossroads. They can either acknowledge the glaring failures, take real steps to protect their players, and rebuild the trust that's now hanging by a thread, or they can keep pretending everything's fine until there's no one left willing to play. Because here's the deal. Fans are watching. Sponsors are watching. Future athletes are watching. The world is paying attention now, and the next move the WNBA makes will define its legacy. Is it a league for the players? Or a league that uses players? Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexie Hull are doing something incredibly brave here. They're putting their reputations, careers, and platforms on the line. Not for drama, but for dignity. They've forced the conversation to happen, and now the pressure's on. No more hiding behind cute commercials and buzzer beaters. The WNBA has a responsibility to show up for real this time, not with vague tweets or empty statements, with action, with policy, with change, because this isn't just about bruises and broken bones. It's about the future of women's sports. It's about respect. And if the WNBA can't figure that out, someone else will. So tell me, what do you think? Is this the tipping point women's basketball has been waiting for? Or will this all be swept under the rug like every controversy before it? Sound off in the comments. Let's get loud. And if you want more deep dives into the chaos behind the glam of celebrity sports, subscribe and buckle up, because this drama, it's just getting started. Caitlin Clark wouldn't be getting clobbered every other game while refs pretend it's just part of the adjustment. Sophie Cunningham wouldn't be left clutching a torn-up knee while med staff moves slower than a dial-up connection. Lexie Hull wouldn't have to squint through one eye to read her own MRI because no one gave her a straight answer about her recovery timeline. This isn't a fluke. This isn't bad luck. This is systemic negligence hiding behind the excuse of growing pains. And the most enraging part? These women aren't asking for anything revolutionary. They're not asking for private jets or gold-plated locker rooms. They're asking for the bare minimum, not to be treated like crash test dummies in a highlight reel. Let's talk about that culture for a second. The one that expects players to tough it out. The one that glorifies pushing through pain. The one that turns rolled ankles into inspiration montages and ACL tears into comeback trailers. That mindset might sell jerseys, but it wrecks bodies and careers. You ever wonder why some of the biggest names in women's basketball burn out early? It's not just about money or opportunity. It's about surviving a system that breaks you down and then shrugs when you're broken. And yeah, the fans see it. The internet sees it. But what hits hardest is the silence from the top. Because when Caitlin Clark dropped her statement, it should have been met with immediate action. When Sophie and Lexie backed her up, there should have been emergency meetings and press briefings and medical reform committees announced that day. But what do we get instead? PR tumbleweeds. A couple of vague Instagram story reposts. Maybe a wellness graphic if you dig far enough. No accountability. No apology. Just nothing. That silence? That's what betrayal sounds like. And it's not just silence. It's the league gaslighting fans and players into thinking this is all fine. That this is just part of building something great. That growing the game means everyone has to suffer a little. Sacrifice their bodies. Sacrifice their peace. But let's be clear, growth should not require destruction. And these players? They're done being collateral damage in a marketing strategy. Caitlin Clark wasn't just the biggest rookie story of the year. She was the engine of media attention, ratings boosts, and sponsorship spikes. She brought in new eyes, new fans. She literally shifted the demographic of WNBA viewers in real time. And yet, she got body-checked harder than half the NBA without a single whistle. She's not asking for special treatment. She's asking for basic protection. It's not favoritism. It's safety. And Sophie? She's been in this league long enough to know how the game works, on and off the court. She's a locker room leader, a tough-as-nails competitor, and one of the most visible players outside of games. But when her knee buckled, where's the league support? A tweet? A check-in? A whisper? Nothing. Lexie Hull's injury wasn't even acknowledged in real time by the league's official accounts. Like she didn't exist. Like a black eye and a shaken brain weren't even worth a line of text. The message? Loud and clear. If you're not scoring, you're not worth saving. And the players are over it. Because they've realized that silence is compliance. And they're not staying silent anymore. This isn't a one-time rant. This is organized, strategic, and united. A movement. They're pulling the receipts. They're naming the problems. They're doing the league's job for them. And the WNBA can either fix the system or get dragged down with it. You can feel the shift in the air, right? This isn't just a few tweets and a press statement. This is generational discontent. This is what happens when players realize they've got power. And not just on the court, off it too. This is a flex, a warning, and a rallying cry all at once. And the fans? Oh, they're ready. People are calling out sponsors, digging up training staff certifications, comparing WNBA injury response times to NCAA protocols. The conversations are growing by the hour. And this time, it's not just diehard basketball Twitter. It's everyone. The casual fans, the women's sports advocates, even people who never watched a game but recognize a worker uprising when they see one. Because that's what this is, really, a labor movement wrapped in knee braces and ice packs. The players have stopped playing nice. They've stopped being grateful for crumbs. They're demanding what they've earned, respect, resources, and responsibility from the people profiting off their bodies. And the league? They can either rise to the occasion or be remembered as the institution that ignored its stars until they walked away. Because make no mistake, players can walk away. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but the long-term impact of this moment is already rolling. Future draft picks are watching. College players are watching. High school athletes are deciding if this is a league that will protect them or discard them. And if the answer is discard, the talent pipeline dries up, the brand crumbles, and the WNBA becomes a cautionary tale instead of success story. What's wild is that this could have been avoided. With basic infrastructure, with proactive planning, with leadership that sees players as people, not products. Instead, they chose complacency. And now, the reckoning has arrived. If the WNBA wants to survive this and thrive beyond it, it's going to take more than a rebrand or a TV deal. It's going to take a complete overhaul of how it treats its athletes. That means third-party medical experts who aren't just team employees, year-round personalized training that prioritizes prevention, not just rehab, player-led safety boards with actual power to veto dangerous decisions, transparent injury protocols shared with media, fans, and players, guaranteed recovery timelines that prioritize full healing over optics. Revolutionary? Not really. Necessary? Absolutely. The players have lit the fuse. They've made their pain public, and now the league has a choice: evolve or explode. We've seen what happens when leagues ignore their talent. The NFL had its concussion scandal. The NBA had its player empowerment era. MLB nearly imploded over labor disputes. Every league eventually gets held accountable by the people who make it money. And right now, that's Caitlin. That's Sophie. That's Lexie. They're the face of a movement that doesn't just want better treatment. It demands it. And if the league doesn't listen, they'll lose more than games. They'll lose trust, legacy, future stars, entire generations of fans. Because nothing kills fandom faster than watching your favorite players suffer while the people in charge do nothing. So here we are. The storm is brewing. The cameras are rolling. And for once, the story isn't about the final score. It's about what happens when 3 women refuse to be broken by a system built on silence. This isn't just a controversy. It's a call to action. It's a rebellion wrapped in athletic tape. And you better believe it's only just beginning. You can't grow the game when the women who are the game are getting treated like they're replaceable cogs in a content machine. You can't launch merch drops and league-wide campaigns about supporting women while ignoring their pain, dodging accountability, and treating legitimate medical needs like an inconvenience to the schedule. It's not just tone-deaf. It's disgraceful. And here's what's so wildly ironic. This is exactly the kind of moment leagues usually dream of. 3 recognizable stars, stepping forward, unified in voice, drawing public attention to a cause. That's marketing gold, if the cause is safe and sanitized. But this is messy. This is raw. This is 3 women refusing to wait for permission. They didn't soften their message. They didn't water it down to keep the sponsors comfortable. They put the league on blast, and by doing that, they put the league on notice. There's no walking this back. The WNBA can't sweep this under the rug with a press release and a pink hoodie. This is the kind of call-out that forces action or exposes rot. And guess what? The clock's ticking, because the league has tried the silence thing before. The wait it out until people forget strategy. But this isn't some locker room squabble or trade rumor. This is about human rights, about bodily autonomy, about safety in a workplace that's supposed to be elite level, not a gladiator pit. Fans aren't going to forget. Not this time. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's a cultural lightning rod. Everything she says becomes a headline. Sophie Cunningham isn't just a veteran. She's a truth-teller with receipts. And Lexie Hull, her injury photos alone are seared into our collective brain. The swelling, the silence, the complete lack of urgency from people paid to protect her. It's unforgettable and unforgivable. Let's also not ignore how incredibly rare it is for players to do this, to speak out during the season. That's unheard of, because normally you stay quiet. You smile for the cameras. You keep it moving. You don't rock the boat, because that boat is your entire career. So when players do speak, when they risk it all to go public like this, it means they've already tried everything else. It means this is a last resort. It means the league failed them so profoundly behind closed doors, they had no choice but to bring the receipts to the masses. That's not drama. That's desperation. That's survival. And now the ball's in the WNBA's court. The players have issued their challenge. They've been honest about their injuries, about the lack of care, about the failures of the very institution that should have had their backs. What comes next is on the league. But let's be real. History doesn't look kindly on institutions that try to outlast the truth. Right now, fans are waiting for something real. Not lip service. Not a diversity panel. Not a 30-second ad narrated by a monotone celebrity about empowerment. They're waiting for medical reforms. They're waiting for accountability. They're waiting for someone, anyone, from the top to say, "We failed our players. We see it now, and we're fixing it." But that kind of honesty requires a level of humility that's hard to come by in professional sports. And while the execs waffle and the spin cycle churns, the players keep bleeding, literally and metaphorically. Let's zoom out for a second, because this moment isn't just about basketball. It's a reflection of something bigger happening in women's sports. We're watching the end of the Be Grateful era. For decades, female athletes were told to just be thankful to exist. Thankful for scraps. Thankful for partial pay. Thankful for inferior facilities, for terrible scheduling, for medical staff who doubled as marketing interns. But this generation, they're not thankful for the bare minimum. They want equity. They want respect. And most importantly, they want control over their own damn bodies. That's the core of this. Autonomy. The ability to say, "I am hurt and I deserve care," without being gaslit or benched or traded or told to smile through the swelling. What Caitlin, Sophie, and Lexie are doing is planting a flag. They're saying, "This ends now. With us." And every young girl watching them, every aspiring athlete with a basketball and a dream, is seeing that message loud and clear. You can speak up. You should speak up. You have to speak up because your health is not optional. Let's be real. This moment is terrifying for the league because it threatens the illusion of control. When athletes start realizing they can control the narrative, that they can shift culture with one joint statement, suddenly power dynamics get shaky. And leagues hate that, because if players can demand better medical protocols, what's next? Revenue transparency? Collective bargaining power? Ownership stakes? And to that, we say yes. Yes to all of it. Because this is about more than just ankles and ACLs. This is about the entire system. About not just surviving as a woman in pro sports, but thriving. About taking up space without apology. About saying, "You don't get a profit off our pain," without also protecting us from it. The silence from the league might be strategic, but it's also damning. Every day they wait, every player who speaks out, every tweet that goes viral, it all chips away at the myth of a league that supports women. Because support isn't branding. Support is action, policy, protection. And you know what? There's still time. Time to change. Time to respond. Time to do the right thing. The WNBA could still pivot, take accountability, and become a model for how leagues should treat their stars. But that window is closing. Fast. Because the internet never forgets. And neither do the players. Let's not forget how fast trust can crumble. How quickly a loyal fan base can sour when they realize their favorite league sees women as expendable. One wrong move from here, and it's not just Caitlin Clark's injury people will remember. It's the cover-up, the silence, the betrayal. The league has a choice. Be a champion of change, or be the cautionary tale we teach in every future women's sports documentary. So what's it going to be? You can almost feel the world holding its breath. Because this moment, this is the line in the sand. This is where the WNBA proves whether it's truly ready to grow, or whether the shiny slogans were just that. Slogans. We're watching. The players are watching. And the next generation? They're taking notes. So now, we want to hear from you. Do you believe this is a real turning point for women's sports? Or just another headline that'll be forgotten when the next buzzer beater hits Twitter? Are you siding with the players? Or do you think the league is doing its best in a tough situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't hold back. And if you're as obsessed with the behind-the-scenes drama, power struggles, and total meltdowns shaping the world of celebrity and sports, hit that subscribe button. We've got receipts, reactions, and rants for days. Because this isn't just a story, it's a movement. And we're not looking away.